Is that unknown quantity, whether you are streaming live. Hello. Are we actually live? I hope so. Hello and welcome to Adventures in Eurorack with me, Gaz Williams. Very pleased for you to join me. Thank you very much. Please consider subscribing to this channel for future kind of shows. We've got loads coming up. In fact, so Monday night is all about Eurorack modular synthesis. I've been in it for about a year now. I've been trying to sort of mess around with this stuff. It's definitely an adventure, so I try to chronicle it on my Monday show. I have a show on Wednesday as well called The Gaz Williams Show that's a little bit more general. I can do all sorts of things. I've got a wonderful guest joining me on Wednesday this week, Mr. Charlie Francis, fabulous music producer and a good friend of mine. We're going to have a really interesting talk about all types of things to do with music production, so please join me. That's 8 p.m. and GMT or BST on Wednesday. But anyway, enough about that. Tonight and the show that we've got lined up, yes, it's very much a follow-on from last week. So if you saw last week's show, which was called The Dawn of Civilization, we were looking at the module called Civilization from UE, and this is kind of a very interesting, very interesting module. Definitely necessitates quite a good few sessions to kind of get head around, really, and that's what I thought I'd do. So last week we were looking at mode 1. There's 4 main modes in this thing. We can select the modes like this by pushing this button here. And we were looking at mode 1 last week, which is a 4x4 matrix mixer that you can put either CV signals or audio signals through. If there's CV signals, you can manipulate the CV by putting them through pitch quantizers, and that's what we were doing last week. It's also what we're going to be doing this week. But in the second mode, the sequential switch, it lets us do different things. And I think it's super cool. This really is one of my favourite ever modules. And I mentioned last week that UE are really known for some of the very best virtual instruments out there. And, for them to come into Eurorack with their first ever hardware module, you see, it's going to be good because UE don't put out anything that's not top notch. So when I saw that they were doing this, I wasn't even into Eurorack at the time when they launched this, but I was thinking, what kind of brain power is going to go into that thing? I bet there's some serious brain power that gets invested into it. And sure enough, there is. That's why it's going to take a bit of time to try and get, well, I say our collective head, my kind of thick head and your much sharper heads around the notion of what civilization can actually do. CVilization. But I'm just going to call it civilization. Okay, so sequential switch. Before we go any further, though, I just want to say hello to everybody in the chat room. I'm just having a quick look there. Oh, great. How nice to see the gang. Thank you, everybody, so much. It's such a hugely important thing when you all join in and communicate and have the chat room on the go. It makes all of this worthwhile because it's the only thing that really makes it worthwhile. So yes, most appreciated, and thank you so much. Please accept my gratitude because I love it. Thank you so much. Anyway, come on, let's get going. Right, so we're talking about the second mode of the Civilization. Now, some of you who saw the show a few weeks ago, I was talking about on this module here, the dope for A116, which is like a complete synth voice in itself. When I first installed it into this Waldorf KB37, it did my head in because I couldn't get it in tune, because as I was playing it, I had it patched in volts and gate, pitch and gate coming into it. and I was playing it and I just couldn't get it to sound in tune. And then I realised if you unpatched it all and played it anyway, it was getting CV and gate from the bus, the dope for bus gate. I've learnt, actually about 10 minutes ago, that the Disting EX can actually read the bus gate as well. So that kind of saves cables, really, that you can kind of get the keyboard notes information and the gate on and off from the internal bus board. So that was a bit of a revelation for me. I mean, again, this stuff, there's such a lot to know, and I'm still such a, beginner, really. However, those of you with keen eyes may notice this is probably the first episode that I've done in my adventures in Eurorack where the layout of the modules is exactly the same as it was the previous week. And the reason for that is that what I want to do tonight really is a continuation of what I was doing last week, which was using the mode 1 of the CVilization to take 4 CV signals coming in from the Zadar, from Chaos Devices, kind of interesting looping envelopes, sending their CV signals through, then coming into 1, 2, 3 and 4 outputs, and then coming into our 4 oscillator or sound sources, which was the Disting Mark IV, the Hysteria from Dreadbox, Platts from Mutable Instruments, and the A116 from Dopefer. So it's all set up just the same then in that respect. And in fact, what I've done at the moment, and I'll explain reasons why, I've unpatched the Zadar, but we will be patching it back in a bit. Anyway, yeah. So that's our setup, and the outputs of the 4 different voices come into the Dope for Little mixer, exactly like last week, and then the Dope for mixer has a left channel going straight into a mixer out, or the right channel out, which is an effect send that goes first to the Eventide and then out into the Z verb from Tip Top, which becomes then stereo, and the stereo returns in to the mix-up on channel 3. Now these, in the mix-up, this little IntelliGel module, very, very simple little mixer, but what it does give us is mute switches, and I've actually found those mute switches quite useful. So channel 1, if I unmute it, there's our oscillators just on. We're using no modulators in this kind of stuff tonight, really. Well, we might do, but the modulator really is CVilization. So if I flick that on, for instance, we're just hearing what all of the things are currently, well, I say all of them. I've got, sorry, that was just the Disting, which is acting as a VCO. I know, tell a lie. Also the Hysteria. So the Hysteria, I've got the quantize on. So it sounds about all right by there. Okay. And then channel 3 is Platts from Mutable Instruments, and channel 4. So I'm going to have to be doing quite a little bit of manual tuning on the go. Right, anyway, that's not so interesting. What's interesting is when we get CVilization on the go. So what are we going to do? We're going to use the sequential switching. What on earth is that? Okay, well, we have got 4 inputs and 4 outputs on CVilization. So those 4 inputs can be audio inputs or they can be CV inputs. We're going to be using no inputs initially. What? What are you talking about? What we're going to do is we can set up the outputs, the 4 outputs, to be outputting constant voltage. Now, constant voltage then would hit all of our inputs of our sound sources and just give us a fixed pitch. But we've also got a sample and hold function in the CVilization enabled. That sample and hold means that it's going to keep generating new values based on its clock division to each of the outputs. So therefore notes are going to come in kind of random ways, but are going to be pitch quantized, because the pitch quantization of mode 1 is the same in mode 2. Basically, even though these are switches, you know, and switches, we can turn on the switches on and off in a sequence, hence sequential switching. But all of those outputs can have quantization, pitch quantization enabled. And then you can choose scales for those quantizations to kind of work to. You could quantize it to chromatic, or you could quantize it to one of a load of scales, and you can make your own scales. So it's pretty good like that. I don't know how much time or how much we'll go into that tonight, but that's the basic gist of it. Now, when we go into our modes, we're in mode 2. You have to learn the color scheme on this thing, otherwise it won't make any sense. So, you know, I've got here, although I think I'm pretty good with it now, but this is a cheat sheet that it's really well done. It's quite witty as well. It's the cheat sheet. You can see that. Sorry, this is a rubbish view, but it gives you the kind of color scheme and what the color scheme is doing. You know, and there are certain sort of things that are a constant. 1 is orange, 2 is green, 3 is blue, 4 is magenta. You know, so that kind of color scheme. Because when you start turning the knobs, you start going through the same color schemes. So you get these kind of visual cues that help you navigate it, because obviously no screen on there. They're having to use a different kind of language. They're using a language of LED colouring, you know, and it is a language. Of course, it's a language. You know, it's having to communicate things by what colour is what. But, you know, yeah, why not? I think the thing is, and that you remember those colours. This is in my experience, you do actually remember the colours and what they mean quite quickly. I wonder about this because when you bring abstract elements in, now I know my friend Steve he loves modular. He hates the abstract layers. He realized for him, anything that has a menu system is a no-no. He wants everything to be what you see is what you get. So CVilization, I guess, is one of these things where it sort of straddles, you know, it straddles that thing. It doesn't have menus in the traditional sense, although it does, but it is what you see is what you get. But you just have to learn what the colours are. I think you get your head around it. All right, though. Example. Right. We've got our 4 channels. In this case, as I say, I'm not generating anything from the inputs at the moment. I am only generating outputs. I'm using the sample and hold to then create a voltage that it's then randomly generating what that voltage is, and then it's being fed, that voltage is being fed through the pitch quantizer. Okay, so what our sequential switching can do then is it can go, you can have an 8-step sequence, and for each of the steps you can decide which output is on that particular step. So if we had like a like I will do this later, but Zadar giving us a modulation coming in on channel 1 and then a modulation coming in on channel 2, our sequencer can go, okay, step 1 will be whatever is hitting from channel, you know, the Zadar on channel 1. Step 2, you can choose, you know, so 4 inputs from Zadar into those 4 inputs, then you can choose per step which of those 4 inputs it's outputting. But you have to magnify that by, you've got 4 channel outputs. So you can have 4 inputs coming in, going to 4 different outputs and sequence 4, you know, you've got 4 different sequences going on. Boom! Okay, sorry, that's really difficult to, that was a really bad explanation. Let's dive in and let's see if we can make sense of this. So I'm not using that yet, but I'm setting us up for later. We will be doing that kind of thing. What I'm talking about at the moment is that the 4 outputs are going to be just being given constant signal. Now, we do that by, if we click the right row, and it doesn't actually matter which of the 4 that you pick, one on the right, it takes us to this page, which is the step type page. Now we can see that they're all lit white now, but if I was just to twist them, you can see as I step through this top one, it's changing colors. What it's basically doing is going each step. I could say if I turn this all the way to the left, for instance, the first step is like a yellow. So that step is going to output whatever's coming in to CV1. So yellow, green is the second step. So the second step would out. So as this sequence moves through here, like a step sequence, actually, this would be step 2. You can choose which outputs each one is going to come out on. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Magenta would be step 4. This one, red, is skip a step. So it would just jump straight to, it wouldn't actually play step 5. It'll jump straight to step 6. If it's white, that means it's constant voltage. So it's not, and that voltage then can be dictated by the sample and hold. Okay, hope this is making sense and it's not too boring. It's a bonkers thing, but what you can do with it, as you'll see now, is actually super cool. So yeah, so we got our step select. Now, I want all of our steps actually in our sequence to be white, constant voltage for this particular starting thing. Okay, whew. Yeah. All right. This is a bonkers module. As I mentioned, UE make amazing software. They're not going to go into something like this kind of, like amateur. They're going to go into this stuff in a big way. It does actually, however, make it quite a difficult kind of product to understand, because it does require a hell of a lot of attention, really, to kind of get on with it, they say. Get on with it. All right. Yes. Okay. So I select output 1 has got a sequence here set up. Okay. Let's just look what this sequence consists of. It consists of constant voltage on step 1, skip, 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 constant voltage. So we're skipping 2, 3, and 4, jumping to 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay. As constant voltage. Okay. Look, I could just change these, as I say, and it would just send whatever the input is going out of that particular channel at that time. But we've got no inputs, so we're just sending either constant voltage or skipping. Okay. Now, what is it waiting for? It's waiting for, I've set the synchronization on this to be, yes, the Doepfer the Doepfer bus gate, which is a cool function. So jump back to our main menu here, and I go long press on here, time, and I've got all 4 of our outputs are taking their clock from the walled off KB37. So my tempo control on the KB37 is going to control the sequencer. So with that in mind, it's waiting for gates. So the best way for me to give it constant gates is to enable the arpeggiator. So I'll do that. We send an arpeggiator in. This is where we hope it all still works. And let's get everything. Oops. Yep. Okay. They're turned on. Here we go. Okay. Oops. That, I think. Let's just pop that out for now. Right. Okay. We can see that these are flashing now. If I change the tempo on the KB37, they'll flash based on the tempo that it's getting. See, look, they're going really slow now. Okay. Now, let's turn up our... Okay, this is going to be really dull music for a moment, just while we see it working. So just to explain what's going on, output 1 of CVilization is being sent a constant voltage that's being manipulated by sample and hold and then through a pitch quantizer. So, and here's the sequence, and we can see it's skipping. Let's put these back. Now, if I come out of this and come into the right channel, sorry, let me do that again. I said that wrong. This is your performance page, which is like your home page. Come back to the home page, and I'm going to go into sequence 1. Rather than just what these are now set to do, rather than them choosing which gate output or a constant voltage, this is how much voltage is being outputted of sequencer 1. So essentially, it'll change the melody. Actually, an easier way to maybe demonstrate this is if I come into this side now, and if I just mute out, I'm going to make a really short little sequence. I mentioned last week, whatever knob you turn, as you turn it, every knob currently, as the moment you're turning it, all the knobs will reflect what you're currently doing. So you do it, that sometimes is a bit odd, but it ultimately is a good thing. It means that if your hand is obscuring things, you can see what you're picking by looking at any knob. Look, like here now, we can only see the top knob there, but it still allows me to do this. So I'm just going to make a 2-step sequence. Okay, let's go back to the pitch quantized side now. So I can now go. Yeah, so you get the sort of gist of it. Let's listen to what our second oscillator is doing. Might need to do a bit of tuning. Right, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to go now into my second sequence. Now, we can see we've got a different clock division going on this second sequence. So we can vary that as well. Long press here, hit my clock divisions. Whoops. I did that wrong. Now, this is where you have to remember the kind of... let's just knock this down a little bit for a moment. This is where you have to remember this navigational thing here. The home page. Once you get to you can only go into sub-pages from the home page. So if I'm in the home page and I want to go into that... that quantization, I have to long press in there. I think this is one now here. Oh, no, this one. No, got sorry, cheat sheet time. So I got 2 pages. I got 2 pages in that window. You get 2 pages. So in page 2, you can, you can change playback direction of each of your sequences. And you can make them move in random form or different things as well. You know, so you kind of expect this kind of stuff with a sequencer, but this is such an unusual way to approach that. Right. Going to check in with the chat room for a moment, just because I haven't really... hang on, let me just take this down a moment. Oh, wow. Great to see everybody. Thank you so much. Just catching up with everything. Yeah, at least I am not freezing like I did last week. My goodness, I was so embarrassed about that. I'm so sorry. I was so engrossed in what I was doing. I didn't check that my stream and check the chat room. Oh, well. One thing that is super apparent to me is that I have the best audience on the planet. I'm convinced about that. Kind, awesome people. And I get a lot of people writing to me, which is fantastic, to say really nice things. Hey! All right. I like it. So yes, thank you ever so much to everybody for all your positive and lovely things that... boom, 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 boom. Anyway, I digress. Right, let's get back to this. So, yeah, being a bit waffly here, but let's try and get stuff. Let's try and get more things happening now. So I've basically got, I've got four sequences that I could get going. Let's get everything going now. I've just got to get rid of that low note that I've dialed in. Just give me a moment. I'll just start dialing in stuff here. Dude. Oh my god. Sorry, the musicality of this is dreadful at the moment. Wait! Where's that low note coming from? Well, let's, if we jump back to our main kind of page, we can pause. So, if you turn it to the right, and then back to let it carry, it'll pause and then continue. If you turn it to the left, it'll actually stop. So when you do it, that'll be like a restart. Although with a 2-note thing, that's hardly worth it. So, 2. So that note, let's turn that one up. Oh, I'm getting confused now. That's typically. Sorry, this is horrible music, isn't it? Let me just try and salvage something nice out of this. Let's just see what our effects can bring in. So a really basic thing like this for a moment. Let's get some effects to make things nice for you. I'm doing this for you, everybody. I'm bringing the effects in. I wasn't going to bring them in straight away. Okay. So we've got our really simple little 2-step sequence now. Okay. See, now I feel like I'm in the music spot now. Like in its most basic way, I'm making music and it's making me happy. That is a weird thing, isn't it, with kind of electronic stuff? You know, you have these loops going on of these crazy noises. You know, I wonder how much actual research has gone into what effect does this have on your mental well-being, you know. That if you, just messed around with totally enharmonic noise sources, you know, could you be doing yourself a real, bad thing in your way that your brain is developing? Needs more shimmer, it's being suggested. Okay, let's get over. Now you see, This makes me quite happy. I feel I'm making epic music, and I'm, just controlling these two little trimmer pots. So again, just a 2-note sequence. Actually, this makes sense to me showing you this, because this module is so awesome that using it in this teeny way. Yeah. See, it's music, isn't it? And it's just a 2 little thing going on. You say, yeah, it's music. It is music. One notch to the right. Yeah. Okay. So that's nice doing its thing. Let's get our second track on the go now. See, look at that. The one beautiful sound bringing this real dry, boring sound. Let's drop it down an octave. Give it a bit of effect. So like see, I hit 1. If I hit 2, this is that other sequence playing. Back to 1. Back to 2. Down there. There we are. Okay. So it's quite nice, isn't it? And I mean, that's like next to nothing going on. We've got so little going on, but it's kind of, that's music, isn't it? For people who've watched this show for a while, I hope that thing is really apparent. I'm always wanting to find where the music is, with these devices, and I'm very drawn to things that are harmonically pleasing. Needs a release. Synth Addict is saying we need a release. Well, what would be good is if we change scale, that could do something cool. So let's do that. Alright, so long press on the left side. I'm in my pitch quantized mode here, so I'm going to whack it into new scales. So now when I go back into our sequence and start, it's going to be giving us notes in a different scale now. Change our sequences, again, having little pots which have like sort of detents or whatever it's called, where you click it, it lets you kind of make musical decisions by how many clicks you feel. this into a darker place, doesn't it? This scale is, what's it, like a harmonic minor or something? Okay, well, we've only got 2 of our sound sources currently on. Let's bring in our third sequence then, which is going to be feeding our plats. So let's just take away our nice ambient sounds and bring in a crude, rude sound. Sonic Link is saying to delay one sequence. Yeah, well, I could do that. Each of the sequences can be clocked, you know, running at different clock divisions as well. So with plats, we got the facility to try out different oscillator types. I've noticed that the tuning is really odd with plats, depending which mode you've got selected. Oh, thanks for Goo. Yeah, you're the most awesome dude on the planet. Okay. Let's mess with the sequence of this little thing for a moment. Okay. This little thin little sound. Michael B is saying, although it is modern not to drop down to the root and release these days, witness the soundtrack to Interstellar. It's a 2-hour long build-up without much release. That's cool. What a chat room. Yes, so if you're watching this show not live, certainly make sure you enable the live chat. It's you get a lot more interesting stuff going on there. But also, please join me live and join the chat, because the chat is full of bodacious dudes. Yes, this is creepy. Let's try and let's take it back into that major vibe again then. I said, here we go, watch these notes go back now and it'll sweeten up now. Well, eventually. Ed Butterworth, what a dude. Thank you so much for joining. Right. Let's see now. So I'll change some of the clock divisions now. So you can see when I'm in the clock division mode, you can see how fast that one's flashing. Channel 1, look, if I change channel 1 to be much slower. So magenta is the slowest, then I guess blue. So our clock divisions, it's in our cheat sheet. 1 times, 2 times, 4 times, and magenta 8 times. So let's just make let's make them all run at their fastest sequence time now. I'm going to pull them out of the effect zone for a moment now. Thank you so much, Ben Beasley. Wow. Hey, I'm glad I've enabled the super chat. That's so kind. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It's super cool. Super chat, yeah. Please consider super chat to fund these shows. Oh my goodness, how much money have I spent on these shows? Yes, it's all your fault, everyone. It's always funny that, isn't it? The return when you come out of the effect zone back to what is actually going on, you know, without the dream that effects do. And then that's what we've got, you know, which is pretty not that interesting on its own. However, you know, you can see that Civilization then is just a really interesting way of manipulating your CV signals. It can be used, talked about this last week, but you can just put audio signals into Civilization, and then if you're using it in this switch mode with an audio signal coming in, then that audio signal will come out of whichever output in the sequence. So I think I probably better set up something else then to sort of demonstrate some of this extra sequential switching stuff. You know, I guess when I started this Eurorack journey, roughly more or less a year ago, and I've documented it, including my first ever putting in of a module that I'd ever done, captured live on my show. So literally this whole modular kind of journey, I've tried to kind of document it as much as possible. I've been ever so busy with a whole load of other projects, and modular is quite time consuming. It demands your attention. However, you know, this is kind of cool. What I would say at this point, a year in, certain modules like Zadar and like Civilization, and there are other ones as well, but those ones, they feel so unusual to me compared, you know, I've been playing with synths since the mid 80s, or yeah, more or less, just a bit. 87, I think I got my first. Well, actually, no, my first synth. It was a Casio SK1. I probably was about 84 or 85. But needless to say, I've been around synths for a very long time, but was reluctant to embrace modular for a whole bunch of reasons. Financial reasons being probably the primary reason. But one of the things that drew me to it was, you know, like seeing Yuhi, for instance, release Civilization and just feeling a bit like left out and going, oh, what does it do? I want to know what it does. But in order to know what it does, I need to kind of know more. Otherwise, it doesn't really make sense necessarily on its own. But the modules which are... Paul Atola's asking which modules do you feel are the most playable. Yeah, I think that's a thing. That's a thing. It's what's the point of this? You know, what is the point of this? And playability absolutely is a massive thing. So certain modules, they really do want you to manipulate them. The Civilization being a great example of that. Oh, thank you, Jan is saying, what should be the first module to add to your Behringer neutron? I think I would probably look to add a sequencer, I think, to it in some way, because there's such a lot of stuff you can move around on the neutron. And it's very well spec'd synthesizer, the neutron. So, yeah. yeah, some sort of sequencer, I think. Yeah, I mean sequences. So I think, yeah, I'll jump back to stuff in a moment, but I guess just to finish this little diatribe here, I think modules which have no parallel to any of my other instruments, be it hardware instruments or software instruments, they're the ones, you know. So CVilization, for instance, is like nothing I've ever really used before, other than, well, there is some similarities, to be fair, to the Korg SQ1, with all of the... That actually is a great partner for a Behringer Neutron, the Korg SQ1. Cheap, and you can do tons. Those two together are really, really powerful, actually. But yeah, but when you've got sequences running and you've got like these clear trimmer pots, there's a little similarity to CVilization, but I guess it's superficial. What I'm talking about is certain modules, they only make sense within the context of this modular, you know, physical modular environment, and perhaps wouldn't be so impressive if they were like virtual versions, or, you know, within Reactor or something, or VCVrack. Yeah, so, but like Zadar, which we're going to be looking at Zadar in a moment, actually. I think that, in fact, that'll probably be something that... In fact, if I was to recreate a little bit of last week's session, in fact, there is that waveform we were using, and consider that there a voltage map that's then coming out. In this case, that's channel A. So I'll take channel A out, and I'm going to put that into my input 1 of CVilization. Okay. So our pitch, because that CV is going to be controlling pitch. Let's have a listen to what that's going to be doing. We've got our little sequence. What's the best way to do this? I'll have to think now. Of course. At the moment, our channel 1, we've got it playing constant pitches. So if I turn this all the way to the yellow, so our 2 steps are going to be both coming out of the Zadar. So let's actually make this a 4-step sequence for now. I'm going to make the strength of the Zadar much, much weaker for now. Okay, make it a bit stronger than that. Descend. Actually, let's choose an easier thing here to understand, so we can. So I guess I want to turn off the sample and hold now, and just. So let me remember how to do that. Yeah, back to the play page. Long press on here. I'm going to go to here. And I think if I just click it, I can turn it sample and hold off. Yeah. Okay. Let's come back to our main page, and let's pick a shape, which is going to be our melody down. It's very. Now, because our sequence. Let's come back to our sequence now. Let us now. I'm going to take channel B, which we can see the shape of channel B. Look, it's a slow climb, and then a bunch of peaks and troughs, and then a sort of slow outro. That is going to go into our input 2. So when we come back to our sequential switch now, our channel, what's coming out of channel 1, which is feeding just the disting, which is acting as a VCO. That's what we can hear now. Right, let's hit that now. Each of the 4 steps are being the Zadar's first pattern. Now I'm going to put steps 3 So it's really strange, isn't it? It has a massive effect on the melody. Oh yeah, so let me turn the strength of the Zadar. The two channels are gonna... So now we've got this interesting thing is, so we can change this, once we listen to this and hear the melody, which is going to be changing based on whatever's happening on the outputs from the Zadar, but we can affect this melody by going, oh, I'm going to change that note now to be in, just swap it around now. So it's just a really different way of approaching sort of melody creation. So let's bring in our second channel now. So let's get some tuning going on. Whoops, I messed the tuning up. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, it's just tune it up. I've lost all the tuning now. Oh, how horrible. One moment. That sounds okay now. Well, okay, relative to what I'm talking about. So, okay, so our second sequence then, is a mixture of things. Let's just set it then so it's going to follow some of the same melody as sequence A. Zadar A. I'm going to have all of the outputs coming out of Zadar A to start with. Oh, it's down an octave, isn't it? So let's pitch it up an octave, I think. Hang on. Oh, here it is, sorry. So this sequence now is all Zadar. Is this? Hang on. Channel 3. Oh yeah, no. Here we go. Let's put some of these. I messed up. Oh. Okay, not my most musically interesting thing. Then again. See, as soon as you take the effects back in, it's like, let's try and get that channel 2 sorted. What? So I'm just down. Oh, octaves. Okay. Okay, so I'll just blend them all in now. Oh yeah, I'm cheating. Waiting in the wings now is our interesting, isn't it? Change the key to get things. See how this. I don't know, it's kind of, it's a form of music. A form of music. But it is definitely music. It's not necessarily good music. But you know, some modules that kind of get you into some sort of musical place is definitely the things that I'm interested in. Oh. Quag. Sequential switching. What an interesting concept, I suppose. Oh, also, because my gates are being fed from my arpeggiator, I can do naughty things like this. I'm not using any filters, VCAs, envelopes, or any modulators at all. Just CVilization. related to the subharmonicon, Ian Tyndale saying. Yeah, I know what you're saying. That's an interesting... Having different sequences running with all different step amounts. Whoa. See if I can find something in here now. Reverb. The regal quality that reverb can bring is just fabulous. So we've still got another sequence that we can use. Channel 4 on CVilization. So what I think we might use... I might send Channel 4 sequence then... Well, currently it's going into the dope fair. Well, let's see what it's doing. 4. It's currently setting fixed voltages. Let's bring the other channels out for now. Back it all out of our mush, our effect mush. First one up, sorry. You can set glide amounts as well. So let's do that, Long press to get into our window. Page across. Hit my glide. Oops, no, did that wrong. Let's try that again. Long press. Page across. Glide. I'll just turn the glide up on everything, on all the channels. Oh, there we go. You can hear it straight away. So our other channels are going to be getting glide now as well, and different glide amounts. I suppose that's slew as well. You could call that, can you? You know. I feel like I know a few things now, like using slew. That was one of those terms. How often do you use the word slew? How often do you use the word slew in just regular day-to-day language? Slew. I suppose it depends on what you do. I suppose maybe engineers are more likely to slew around, you know. Or people in kitchens making some coal slew. No, coleslaw. That doesn't work. Slew, yes. So I guess it's one of those things, you know, jargon always kind of makes you go, whoa, when you don't know what it means. It feels a bit intimidating. But like, actually thinking about a note going bop, bop, just sort of like a kind of straight, da, da, movement, not da. Here's slew, slew, slew that hard edge. Lag. Native VS is saying slew or lag is commonly used in data analysis, biology, or dealing with smoothing analog data. Makes sense. There is actually a Cole's law. It's the law of the wake and the wall. It's to do with fluid dynamics. Cole's law. There we go. Thank you, Ian Tinsdale. Anyway, these are digressions. Why? Because I'm trying to decide what we're doing next. Okay, so we just set up some glides on here. What do you guys think of Civilization so far? Do you think it's convoluted and complex to use, or kind of? The more I'm using it, like I mentioned earlier, the color scheme, I sometimes make a few kind of menu errors, but by and large, you kind of learn to get around it. Wagyu loves it. Okay, that's cool. That's interesting. Because, as I say, modules are baffling things. Sensient saying, check out the DUSG, which is the Dual Universal Slope Generator. No, Sensient, not for me, that UI. Fred Dibner thinks it's awful. Okay, interesting. Okay, I mean, things are going to be to some people's taste. For me, the success in this is how I can feel like I'm making music, or at least having some input into it. Wagyu saying it looks like it takes some learning, but can generate some interesting moments. Certainly, yeah. How much is the Civilization? Well, it's not particularly cheap. It's around €350. What, you might say? Now, something to bear in mind is when you are using it with audio signals, it's a 96k 24-bit, I think, but certainly 96k sample rate it works at. So it is essentially a digital mixer. So it's got 96k converters on all inputs and all outputs. So there's quite a lot to it. Native VS is saying it's amazing what it does in such a small space without any display. Yes, I think that is a key thing. And, this whole guided by colours approach, I wonder if there's any kind of overlap for colour blindness. Something that I would be curious about. Yellow, green, blue, and purple. Whether, I don't know. But yeah. But there's certain things in sort of Civilization language. When you get used to this thing, the blinking and it's always giving you like a certain amount of information. For instance, like as I say, that blinking is directly related to the input clock now. As I'm turning the input up, the tempo on the KB37, we can see that. It's stuff like that. There's just a lot of useful visual information. Morgan Llewellyn saying my flatmate can't distinguish between blue or green. So yeah, I wonder whether you'd be able to make the difference out of that. Wagyu saying 3 or 4 different types of color blindness. Yeah, I guess you can't really necessarily always factor in those kind of things, but accessibility is something that's easy to kind of overlook, isn't it? When we had Steve O'Hear on the show a few weeks ago, that was interesting. The whole aspect of accessibility, and it is important. Whew. Yeah. Synthaddict is saying the cheat sheet is always going to be handy. Yes, it is. Although I'm relying on it a lot less. So as I mentioned earlier, we're in mode 2 at the moment. There are 4 modes, and hopefully next week we'll be looking at mode 3. I'll give you a sneak preview what it's called. Anyway, it's the mucorder. It's called the quad mucorder, and that is a sequencer, but it's actually a recorder. You can record well, note value, but you can also record CV values in as well, and then sequence that. So haven't even tried it yet, so that'll be something to explore in next week's show. Maybe I'll change out some of the other things, or maybe not. I mean, this works quite well for this purpose, but yeah, I mean, I'm using it as a CV manipulator. I guess CVilization is suggesting that, but you know, it is super powerful for handling audio signals as well. I mentioned last week, and that is something that you might, you know, in the mixer, you can have your 4 different audio inputs coming out, and then you can select how much each of outputs have of however much of each input. So it's yeah, great little mixer. Okay, so let's have a look. What I can't remember what we're doing. How are we doing for time? It works like a sampler, only in as much as no, it doesn't really. But it is kind of, as a digital mixer, you know, it's having to copy the signal, enable. You know, the mixer works by it being a digital device. Right, okay. Sorry, got to disengage from the chat room a moment because it's it's throwing me off. Right, let's have a look. Oh yeah, we just enabled glide. Now, so our sequence there is kind of crazy. So let's try and tame that sequence then. I got to turn off a lot of the steps first. I'll make this just like a 2-step sequencer just until I have some sense of controlling what's going on. So once. Oh, I know what's going on. I know what's going on. The doper is receiving. I've got the arpeggiator on. And of course, the doper is listening to the arpeggiator and the sequencer at the same time. But of course, right. So for this channel then, we want, rather than having the arpeggiator moving it on, let's have a different clock source. Ooh, yes. Okay, so let's do that then. Long press on the left here. I'm going to go back to page 1, and I'm going to choose yellow for clock source, and then channel 4 isn't going to get its clock from the Waldorf. Instead, it's going to get its clock from CVA. Okay, where shall CVA get its? All right, let's send something out from Zadar then into CVA. Okay, so I'm sending channel C of Zadar in. Let's just speed that up. So we're sending in a faster clock now. Actually, let's make it easy. Oh, it's just like a square wave, on and off. Let's make that fast. So we go on. Oh. Yeah, I can see the relationship between this and this. So now, okay, let's come back out of here now. Channel 4. Let's give this its, yeah, okay, that should be, what am I doing, okay, strength, let's drop the strength down. Oh, I'm going to do, sorry about this, slow it. Hang on. Channel C is coming in. Oh, it's channel C. I was doing that from... oh no, into CVA. Oh, I've got myself confused. Right, let me just stop that drone. I've just overloaded myself. Hang on. So I'm sending... I've just got to remember what I'm doing here. Right, so channel 4 is receiving its input from... No, it's not, is it? I've not got an input. What am I doing? I'm forgetting what I'm doing here. 4. Right. I got confused. I'm clocking. It's taking its clock from channel 3, but it's going to take its signal from channel 4. I got it now. Okay, so channel 4. Let's use this. Let's make it faster. So it's going to be just like a descending note. And then, confused. Let's jump back now. So that descending is coming into channel 4. So channel 4 sequence is a 2-note sequence, and it'll be both will be receiving it from channel 4. Yes! Hooray. I unmuted it and it did exactly what I was hoping it was going to do. Okay, drop the voltage down. Make it run a bit slower. Drop the voltage more. Okay. So I'm going to make this sequence then a mixture of fixed notes and of the descending notes. Let's see. Hang on. It's getting its clock. Oh my goodness, this is confusing. It's getting its clock now from channel C, this funny one. Let's make this clock a bit easier to understand. Okay, yeah, what about that one? Triangle, up and down. Okay, let's make it a bit slower. Oh no, that's weird. That's a weird clock, isn't it? Okay, maybe that just needs to be like an on and off type clock. I'm confused. And all the time these notes are descending. God, I think when you're trying to do stuff and you've got like things like that going on, I think it's weird for your head. So channel 4, because it's the dope, it would normally get its gate signal, or rather it is getting its gate from the arpeggiator, which is what I need to be, well, send it. Everything else is responding to gates. So if I just, let's just check that. Oh yeah, look. So I can advance the sequence every time I play notes. But depending on the speed. It's weird, isn't it? So I'm getting that. Turn the effects back on. Oh, so the Melinda module has started. So everyone's Melinda modules have started failing. They're not responding to gates anymore. Is that what you're suggesting? Okay. So, probably going to end pretty soon. Not sure if you're any more the wiser about Civilization. The sequential gates are certainly an interesting thing. And actually, doing this where we can see how the sequence is advancing on every key press. When you're hearing those big flurry of notes, that's because the Zadar is being fed through as well. Thank you so much, Mint Taxi! Yeah. So I'll be back next Monday then with further adventures into Civilization with the Mucorder. Thanks again everybody in the chat room, and especially super big thanks to everyone who's tipped as well. That's amazing. Clayman is suggesting to click like. Yeah, please do if you can. Well, if you liked it, that is. Okay. Apologies for the distinct EX breakout just kind of dangling out there ungraciously, but I needed the HP space. So yeah, please come back next week if you fancy it. Same time, same place. Sonic Lab is going to sleep off his first jab. Yeah, hope it all goes okay. Back on Wednesday for Gaz Williams show, 8 PM, of course. Thank you for reminding me. I'll just let this kind of ambient kind of nonsense take us out. Thank you, Navcotel in Portugal. All right. Thanks again, everyone. Thank you so much. Stay well.